Why is Gary afraid that his employees could make a deal? Last time, we learned that at Gary's company, your bonus depends on your teammates' performance, and Luke has a beautiful hairdryer. But Steve and Luke still miss the days when they could grill together, eat steaks, and not plan acts of sabotage. Luckily, Steve knew someone who, just like Gary, had once studied economics. His friend told him, "You can just make a deal. If Gary punishes you based on the other person's performance, you can transfer part of your bonus to each other. So if Steve gets a large bonus and Luke gets a small one, Steve gives Luke part of his bonus. And if Luke gets a large bonus while Steve gets a small one, Luke gives some of his to Steve. That way, both of them suffer less from random market conditions." And Gary's brilliant plan starts looking like an Excel spreadsheet opened on a phone. Steve and Luke were delighted. They could already smell the stakes. But there was one thing they didn't know. Gary had overheard the conversation. And when he announced the new bonus rules at the beginning of the next month, Steve and Luke realized that something was wrong. They tried to make a deal. What if we transfer 20% of our bonuses to each other? No. 10%? Still no. One stake per month? Not even that. Under the new rules, any transfer between them made at least one of them worse off. So Steve and Luke went back to work, without an agreement, without stakes, and even more suspicious of the hairdryer. And Gary? Gary won. But only slightly, because the new bonus rules were worse for him too. He had to design them so that Steve and Luke's best response was to transfer exactly 0% of their bonuses. In other words, he had to make cooperation unprofitable, even if that meant the employees generated less profit for him than before. So why did he do it? Because he knew that if he allowed them to make a deal, his brilliant bonus system would stop working. And this creates a problem Gary really doesn't like. The workers don't actually need to form a trade union. They only need to be able to communicate. The mere possibility that Steve and Luke might cooperate forces Gary to change their contract. How did Gary calculate all of this? With math. And once again, when you see the equations, you want to close your laptop. But the lesson is simple. Sometimes the management doesn't block cooperation because the workers are already powerful. They block it because, if the employees made a deal, they might become powerful. Next episode. What happens when Gary ends up in court for breaking health and safety regulations? And why might several judges find him guilty, even when the evidence says otherwise?